don't know that's the phrasing I would use, but it's fine.
Listen, who hasn't gotten a good pounding from a demon once upon a time? We've been to those conventions, right? Hello and welcome once again to Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
And I am Alex.
And Alex, today, as you can see, we are back in the podcast valley.
Ooh. And getting struck by lightning, so...
We're getting... there's lightning coming down, so maybe... You know what? I think I'm going to stand right underneath my arch here. Come on in. It's nice in here.
Nice house.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's an open concept. Yeah. But anyway, so today on Podcast Village 1, I think I'm going to be going over there and checking out that mine. But in the meantime, though, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something I was thinking about more recently is the idea of frustration as a game mechanic. And you might have some thoughts on this yourself. Because because sometimes games will frustrate us, but sometimes I feel like the frustration is intrinsic to the game being what the game is.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk about it specifically to two different genres, because otherwise we're going to get off on a lot of tangents of a lot of other game genres.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about it between roguelikes and soulslikes. Two very different genres that both do frustration in very, very different ways. And I was going to try to see if I can figure out some good examples that I could give you of how that frustration works. This, however, being Minecraft, this is not really in the same frustration camp as those games. This doesn't really have those sort of mechanics to it.
Not quite the same. I would say, however, there's a whole subgenre too, but if you don't want to get into that, that's fine. Of games that are... Sorry, cat. Just something. There's a whole subgenre of games where frustration is like the point.
Oh, yeah. Are you thinking about, like, Fear and Hunger or something like that? Like those...
Fear and Hunger or something akin to, like...
Darkest Dungeon?
Well, I mean, I guess that, too. I more so meant the games like Chained Together and whatnot.
Oh, basically, and everything Bennett Foddy's made. Basically every, like, Getting Over It, QWOP...
Yeah.
What was
some of
the
those...
other one? Baby Steps is the one that he had just made.
Make a game called Baby Steps?
Very recently, he made one called Baby Steps. Have you not seen that one?
I don't think I have. It's fine.
You should look it up. It's basically where you're playing some like 40-year-old guy in his parents' basement who doesn't want to go out into the real world, and the whole game is you awkwardly trying to control his individual steps as he goes out into the real world.
Oh, okay.
Bennett Foddy, everybody, a whole case study in itself. Anyway, no, I wasn't really going to get into that, because I feel like those are so, like, singular now in, like, experiences, and also they're kind of co-op experiences, and a lot of what I was going to talk about is about the single-player experience. So I guess what I can do is I can start with Souls, because, of course, we always start with Souls. It's like a thing we do.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Oh, before I go into this tunnel, though, just for anybody who's wondering, I should probably get some sort of a light source, because it is a little bit dark in here.
Fine.
See. Oh, I'm probably fine. Oh, that's right. I have a torch right here. Just put that in my hand. Just put it in my offhand. Oh, and then I threw my thing away. No! Stop throwing my... Keep throwing my pickaxe. Alright. So, let's talk about souls. I have soul, you have soul, we all have soul. But, a Souls-like, for people who are not aware of, is a game that's kind of like Dark Souls. I feel like I'm just doing the Iron Pineapple intro.
Yeah, you kind of are. I think most people probably know what a Souls-like is at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about Souls games is I have a love-hate relationship with them for a long time. And it was kind of because of the frustration aspect. So, Dark Souls, a game that I had recently gone back to, and a game that I had kept trying to figure out how I could play. Like, that was mostly the thing, is, like, I kept thinking I should be able to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like the precursor to so many Souls games that I really did like. But the whole notion about a Souls game is that it's supposed to be incredibly challenging, and sometimes it feels kind of unfair. I almost feel like the notion of it feeling unfair at the beginning is kind of important. When the demon at the very beginning of Dark Souls, the Abyssal Demon, I want to say, I can't remember, but when like,
yeah.
I think it's the Abyssal Demon,
It's something.
yeah, whatever he's called, Big Chonky Dude. Anyway, when Big Chonky Dude comes down with his hammer, and he, like, insta-kills you immediately, a lot of people will be kind of like going, what is this game? And what you might not realize is that the game is actually trying to explain to you, in a very, kind of subtle way of getting smacked on the head. It's trying to explain to you that maybe just running headfirst into your problems is not going to work in this game. And you might have to think about some other game mechanics that you can use. Because the typical strategy in an RPG, if you go into a Dark Souls or something like that, thinking it's a typical RPG, you are going to get frustrated very, very quickly, and I think that's entirely by design, because they don't want you to think, oh yeah, like Final Fantasy, I make a big attack, and big attack hits the enemy for big damage, and then I have to figure out my defense. No, you have to start learning patterns for the different enemies, and you have to learn different game mechanics in order for it to work. And so what happens right after you get your proverbial ass handed to you from the first demon boss is you get the realization that, well, maybe I can't just attack him head on. What else could I do? And go figure, if you explore that arena, you'll notice that there is this tunnel leading out of that area that goes through a whole other section which happens to tell you about a bunch of other game mechanics in the game. And this eventually leads you to a point where you can stand above where the demon is, make a downward strike, which they have now told you about, from the little glyphs on the ground. And that just so happens to, like, do a tremendous amount of damage to the demon right away.
Right.
And now you can get through this demon. But you wouldn't have really thought to look for any of that if it weren't for the frustration and the difficulty aspect of getting proverbial pounded by this demon right up at the front of the game.
I don't know that's the phrasing I would use, but it's fine.
Listen, who hasn't gotten a good pounding from a demon once upon a time? We've been to those conventions, right?
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
the point is, we had to get a clip for the intro. Anyway, the point is, we can't use that in the
Sure
intro.
we can. I'm about to.
What am I talking? Okay, sorry.
I remember
Clip
where
it
this
and
is.
Take it in. Take a look at where you are in your in your marker, and we'll just do it from there. But the point of the matter is that the way that a Souls-like will actually use frustration is by having you continuously die or lose by trying different things, and then it punishes you for it. Because a lot of times you will, you'll drop your souls, you'll lose your progress, you'll have to do this run back where you have to go through a bunch of these same enemies all over again. Hopefully you get to where you died. You can collect your souls that were dropped on the ground, or an enemy is holding on to them in some cases. And then you've got to try it again. And there is a frustration aspect, too, in that regard that I'd like to discuss, which is the idea that if you do drop your souls, you have to do this risk-reward thing, where you're like, oh, I need to run back to I need to run back to this part where the big bad evil thing killed me, but also that big bad evil thing is going to still be there, and now I'm in the arena, and I have to figure out if I can kill this while getting my souls again.
Right.
So it has complicated my life even further. But the other thing that it does, and I think the interesting thing I found out about Souls, and having now played Dark Souls through to its completion, is that the game, and I don't know if this was FromSoft's actual intention with those games or any other developer, it kind of makes you figure out how to think outside the box of the design that it's presenting to you. Because the typical way of doing things isn't actually working, and you have to figure out how to make it work.
Right.
A lot of people will take the opportunity to learn the moveset, and that is a typical thing that most people will do if you're not me.
Is it they will learn the moveset?
Yeah, they'll learn the moveset of the enemies and figure out how to do the parry.
Oh, I thought you meant the moveset of like your weapons and stuff.
Oh, well, that too. Come to think of it, now that you mention that, yes, that is also important, because you start to realize different weapons work differently, have different ranges, maybe even some mechanics that the game doesn't really tell you about. And there's different damage types, all of that good stuff. But what I'm talking about is where people will learn the movesets of the enemies. You go to Mr. Capra Demon, also a great, classic, terrible Dark Souls enemy. And you're in this very reclusive, like, really small space. I don't want to say it's reclusive. What do I want to say? It's restrictive. It's very claustrophobic. That's the word. I was going to say claustrophobic. You're in a very claustrophobic space, and the Capra Demon can leap at you and basically take out your whole health bar, and there's not a lot of room to maneuver like you normally would. And to make things a little bit more annoying, he has 2 dogs with him, and the dogs now attack on their own.
Right.
And this is one of those battles where you kind of go, what are we doing here? Especially because on the run back, boy, there are some annoying enemies. One of the things that I found to be completely frustrating, but also a great teachable moment, is where you'll deal with these assassin enemies. And the assassin enemies, of course, hide behind walls.
As one does.
So you'll be going down these streets of the Undead Burg, and you'll go past something, and all of a sudden you will forget or not realize that there is an assassin enemy that can do backstab damage and comes up behind you because he was like right down an alley or these doors just opened, and he will stab you in the back and destroy half of your health bar. And it's really frustrating because now my plan has gotten thrown into complete disarray, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do about these enemies. But the teaching moment is, of course, okay, so you know that can happen now, so be aware of that, and be extra paranoid.
Extra
about
paranoid
every
is the
little
best way to
thing.
be.
In a lot of games, I think it is. In a lot of games, it certainly is. But anyway, you finally get to the Capra Demon, and the Capra Demon has a lot of, has some health points and everything, but just big movesets. And you start asking yourself, well, okay, how do I deal with this enemy? He has friends, and I could probably learn the moveset. A lot of people will. They'll start trying to figure out ways to use that limited environment to their benefit. There happens to be a tiny little staircase off to the side. Maybe you can use that. Or you start to think to yourself, what items do I have? Do I have anything to give myself an advantage? Ultimately, like for me when it came to Dark Souls, the thing that ended up working is I learned that magic is indeed a thing in this world.
Yes.
Which was not necessarily made perfectly clear to me at the beginning. But, hey, not only is magic a thing in this world, but pyromancy is a thing in this world, which I ended up realizing pyromancy is actually incredibly broken in in Dark Souls, but I take whatever advantage I can get. And so you can find ways to use that, and there are people that will train you in it. And if you know where to look and who to talk to and the routes to take, and you get used to that world, the frustration drives you to figure out how you can one-up the game. And this is true of a lot of Souls-likes. This was true in, like, Lies of P, where you start to look at different weapon combinations you can make and realize, oh, I can use these to make my journey a lot simpler because these enemies will come up and just rush you.
Right.
And so now I have to figure out how I actually deal with that. I have big enemies that can set on fire, and I need to know how to deal with those. And then Lies of P, while I'm on this tangent, which is a great Souls game. I really like Lies of P. But it has this other mechanic where I sat there at the beginning and I thought to myself, this seems incredibly annoying as a mechanic, and it is the weapon degradation.
Yeah.
Weapons will break down in Lies of P, and you can repair them, because when their wear goes to 0, the weapon is basically useless. And it basically has a mechanic that allows you to grind them so that you can sharpen them back up, and you can do that in the field. This becomes incredibly annoying when you are dealing with an enemy, like a boss, and your weapon degrades faster than you can hit the boss
Right.
in its entirety. And now you have to grind while you are fighting the boss battle.
Yeah, that's
But
annoying.
It is. But what I started to realize is, again, this makes you think about strategy. This makes you think about the aspects of the game that are that this is something that you have to remember and you have to be aware of, and maybe you have to make sure that weapons are in good condition before you go into a boss arena, or you have to know when you can pick your opportunity for this. And so you have to factor this thing into your discussion. They also do the smart thing of doing staggering with the bosses, which is great. So that if I can get them to a staggering condition, then maybe I can do something with it. But you only really start to learn any of these mechanics in a Souls game from trial and error,
Right.
and repetition, and running through things over and over and over again, and throwing a controller across the room because you cannot believe that this game is going to do it. And I think that the thing most people misunderstand about Souls games is that is by design. You need to have that as part of the game mechanic because it makes the reward for figuring out how to get over it and to succeed in that game far, far better. You feel a real sense of accomplishment going, this game tried to screw me over so many times, and I have beat it at its own game. I have either tricked it, I've figured out a way around, I've cheesed it, I've learned the moveset, whatever it is, you figured out how to accomplish it, and that's one of the things that drives so many people to actually play them in the first place, which I guess is my basic point that I wanted to make here. So that's my basic point. But your thoughts on, like, you've played a handful of Souls-likes, not as many as mine.
Yeah, not nearly as many as you, because I went, you know what? I don't think these are my jam.
Yeah. Do you think it was because of that aspect of trying to figure out, like, the intricacies and the different moves or the personality of each aspect, and it was just...
I definitely think part of it was some of that. I wouldn't say the entire thing is that, but I would definitely say part of it's that. Like,
Okay.
I get frustrated easily with Souls likes. I think it's just the difficulty curve, and then
Oh,
the
sure.
wanting me to die and then reset where I was, and like all the monsters respawn. So it's like progress is not felt as keenly to me. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. And I do appreciate Souls games that are maybe a little bit more forgiving because there's definitely there's a give and take to that where the frustration becomes more than you want it to be, where you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything, you know?
Yeah.
There's definitely aspects to it where you go, this is more than I like, this is too taxing. I think it's just that once you start to understand kind of the formulaic nature of it, you start to kind of go, oh, okay, I think I see what they're trying to accomplish here, and I'll be better suited for it. Like one of the things I do initially when I get into a Souls game now is there's usually this one little area where you start out with like a starter weapon and equipment, and you'll sit there for a little bit and you'll just be kind of like going, okay, can I get an idea of like the moves that this does, and like, do I have a roll, do I have a jump, what is every single thing that I have available to me.
Right.
And I think it's even trained me for other games that are not Souls games to say, yeah, this starting area doesn't actually tell me anything, but I can use it as a great primer to figure out what I'm actually capable of doing before I get anywhere else in the game.
Yeah, see, I do that in games too. Like, first thing when I go into a game, I'll check the settings, check all my keybinds and what all my layout does.
Oh, sure.
But the different, like, I'll play a game like a Devil May Cry or a God of War and be like, oh, this is really fun. But like a Souls like, to me, it's just frustrating. It's just, this is hard to be hard, not because it requires like a level of skill, which it does, but it's hard to be hard, it feels.
Right. And the thing that I think I came to a conclusion on when it came to that is, yes, it is hard. It's trying to show you a world that is brutal and unforgiving, because that's also the setting for so many of them. A lot of dark fantasy comes along with Souls games, regardless of whether it's your dark fantasy that the FromSoft games come up with, or the darker take on Pinocchio or anime, or any of the other Souls games that they've had. And so I kind of appreciate it in terms of just the active storytelling of saying, yeah, this is a brutal world, and we're going to show you by the mechanics of making it very brutal. But I also think that it's really instructive, because it tells you this world is brutal, and it's going to try to kill you again and again, but it is capable. You are capable of beating it. You are capable of doing it. You just might not know how at the moment.
Right.
A lot of the enemies that are in the game are actually have a lot of information about them that is hidden away. So, for instance, your mimic,
Right.
in Dark Souls. So, when you originally go up to a chest, you'll go up to one of these chests without thinking about it, and it will open a big mouth, and it will chomp you. And you'll go, hey, wait, I just wanted to open this chest. I wanted the stuff that's in the chest.
Right.
But now I guess sometimes chests eat me, which is a thing I didn't know they could do. So then you say, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to, hit the chest. And if I hit the chest, the mimic is going to reveal itself, and it's not going to chomp me, and then I can just fight the mimic. What you don't know, though, is that you can actually tell if the chest is a mimic before you ever hit it. Did you know that?
I don't think I did. I mean, you could probably just watch
Okay.
it.
Well, so here's the thing, and this is something subtle that you know over the course of time people started to realize was something that they were doing. The active sprite
Yeah.
between a regular chest and a mimic chest is slightly different. Not only are they a slightly different color, but the way the chain falls next to the chest is different. There's a regular chest will have like an S shape to the chain that's right next to it, but the mimic chests are like just a curve backwards. And it's kind of subtle because obviously it's just the chain on the side of the chest. But like apparently the mimic didn't know how to mimic the chain coming off of the side of it. So you can actually tell if it's a mimic chest before you ever hit it or open it.
Interesting.
And so if you're observant or you're aware or, you look at the different messages on the ground, they will start to inform you about this stuff, this lore about different enemies, what they are immune to, what they are vulnerable to, ways that you can actually hurt them. The way I actually ended up dealing with the Capra Demon was I said, okay, well, I have spells. I think I actually had some pyromancies that I had gotten elsewhere, or that I just started out with. Didn't have a ton of them, but I had like a handful of fireballs, so I'll use what I can. I was able to get up onto the little staircase, and then from the little staircase, he wasn't quite able to follow me up there to the staircase. Then I ran out of my fireballs, and I said, okay, I'm just going to throw the firebombs, as many firebombs as I possibly have. Comes to find out, Capra demons are actually vulnerable to fire, which I thought was kind of weird because you see a lot of them in the big fire pit when you get there later in the game.
Right.
I don't know why they'd hang around there when they're so vulnerable to
Sometimes
it.
it's just like the heat.
Sometimes they do, but, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the active
I
volcano.
thought you were going to say don't be a Capra demon.
That too. Don't be a Capra demon. I mean, just in general, that's probably good advice, right?
No.
You probably shouldn't be a Capra demon. Maybe you should. If you want to be a Capra demon, you do you. But I'm just saying that I don't know if it's a particularly great idea for you to be a Capra demon. Don't take my advice. This is not an advice podcast where we tell you to be a Capra demon.
It could be.
Sorry. It could be. You know what? Who am I to judge? I'm definitely not the kind of person to judge if you want to be a Capra demon.
Good.
But I think it sounds like a terrible idea. You do get to have some doggies, though. So, you enjoy that. Different Souls-likes will do this in different ways, but the general idea is that they expect that you are going to get into an arena with a boss, or just enemies that you haven't seen before. Mini-bosses, mobs of enemies, sometimes just the endless pits, which, boy howdy, so many of these Souls, especially the FromSoft games, they love their endless abyssal pits, man. I swear I died more times from just an endless pit void than enemies most of the time in those games. And it is frustrating. It's frustrating when you're going through like the Valley of Giants and you can't see 2 feet in front of your face. But then you start to realize, oh, well, I need some kind of a light source. I could get a spell, I could get the skull lantern and hold it up, I could do something like that. But it kind of needs to introduce the frustration in order for you to understand the world better. And there's something really interesting, and I even think exciting, about uncovering information about the world by doing that. And the frustration of it has to be a mechanic, because if it didn't have that, if, like, Souls games were very straightforward and you smack the boss smacks you until one of you dies and there's nothing else to it, I don't think people would play it. I don't think people would have as much of an interest in playing it. But because they do have those aspects, people love them and find a lot of love for the accomplishment of finally beating them. No matter how you actually get around to doing that, which, depending on how you do that, might be because you learned the mechanics of fighting in melee, learned how to use ranged weapons, started to make friends and did it in co-op, or whatever it happens to be. And I am getting attacked by 7,000 spiders right now, so that is also a frustration in my own personal life, so that's great. There we go. Oh, there's more. Sorry. I thought I was done with the spiders. There are
There's
more
always
spiders.
more spiders.
There are always more spiders. Every day I'm spidering. But, anyway, that was my rant on, okay, yeah. I was slain by 7,000 spiders.
That'll be that's a thing
So
that happens.
that'll happen. Hey, look, I'm back. I'm back out here. But that is, so anyway, yes. Frustration, game, Souls-like, that's kind of my point. It's part and parcel to the experience of playing the games, and so I consider it a mechanic of the game. That it does that. I don't know though, like, I'm gonna get your point of view. Like, do you think that the idea of frustration in that way with the Souls game is, like, thought of as part of the design of the game, or it comes out from the other systems that it builds? Like, is it intentional?
Like, specifically Souls-likes?
Specifically in that, while we're on the topic of the Souls game.
I think frustration is part of the design. Because you don't really, most of the time you don't go into a game and go, oh yeah, we're going to make a Souls-like, but we want it to not be challenging. You kind of go in with the idea that these fights and these things are going to be confusing, the map's going to be frustrating and confusing and not intuitive, and then the combat's going to be brutal.
Right.
Like, you don't look at a Souls-like as, you don't go, I want to make a Souls-like, but I want it to be like super fast combat and linear corridors, typically.
Yeah. Although that's always the most fun part. I think there is a caveat, though, that I will say, is that there are some Souls games that... Hellpoint is probably a good example of this, where it seems so floaty and the enemies seem kind of random, and because they don't have this organizational property where you kind of know what they're doing most of the time, that actually just makes it frustrating without it feeling like you're achieving anything.
Yeah.
And so there is definitely a way that you can do it badly. I need to feel like I'm actually intrinsically learning how the game world works, because if I'm not, and it's just kind of like random. There was one enemy where you have these two different enemies that are fighting differently. I guess it in Hellpoint, this was supposed to be their, like, Ornstein and Smaug moment, where they were like, oh man, this is gonna be so cool. But in practice, it's just this really awkward fight in this arena where I didn't even know, like, they would have attacks and some of them could be blocked by, standing behind a wall, but then some of their other attacks went right through the wall.
Right.
And I could never tell what they were going to do. So then it's just like, well, how am I supposed to strategize in this very small room where the camera is flipping around all over the place and I can't tell where I am half the time? And these enemies just all of a sudden decide to use an attack which didn't hit me before, but apparently can hit me now. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And after enough times, I was like, oh, so I guess it's just kind of dumb luck if I beat this or not. Well, now I don't really feel like I'm learning anything or growing in the experience.
Right.
In the experience.
I wonder if there is anything that would fall under, like, a Souls light, almost.
A Souls Light would be something probably like Flintlock, and I think the reason why is because it's kind of just doing the, action adventure thing, but it's taking the aspects of Souls Likes where it's like, okay, so you're going to deal with some bosses, you're going to, like, drop some of your materials. It's not real taxing, but you're going to drop some stuff if you happen to die. But also, you're gonna have continuous upgrades to your character. You're gonna gain experience. That is completely separate from, the currency that you would typically use, And so I think that you can make a Souls-light game. Not that it necessarily means that it's gonna be good, but you could definitely do it. I played a little bit of Flintlock. I didn't play the full game.
Yeah, I don't think I played any of it.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a neat world. I think it works better in concept than it might. There's cool stuff where you get, like, I think the setup to Flintlock, just side note, I guess, for anyone who cares, but the conceit of Flintlock is basically that this little demigod cat thing
Perfect.
is telling you, hey, so I need you, your protagonist character, I need you to help me kill the gods.
Oh, so it's a JRPG.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it has those aspects, because it does have, like, points where you're, doing some quick time events and stuff like that, which is not typical of your Souls-like game, And I don't really even know if you have to worry too much about the combat systems of the game. You can usually get around it, but there is blocking and shields and stuff like that, so, it's possible that you could kind of consider it Soulsy, but maybe not in the same vein. Also, your character can actually move in a non-tank fashion, which I also consider to be a Souls thing. But anyway, enough about Souls. I have
Thank
too
God.
much soul. Yeah, we got to move on. We're too far into this now. We need to move on. Okay. Something that I'd actually prefer to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about roguelikes. Because roguelikes are frustrating in a very different way. Roguelikes are frustrating because of the randomness of it. When you have a Souls game, your Souls game is frustrating because of the way the game is designed and the way the world is constructed. However, in your roguelike, the reason why the game is frustrating is because of the randomness of the game. And, but it works in a very different fashion. So, recently, as people might know, one of the things that we had played on the show is a game that I honestly kind of love. I cannot stop telling you how much I love it, and playing it on my own continuously since this. I cannot tell you how good it is, but it's Blue Prince. Blue Prince is definitely a rogue-like, or a rogue-lite, I should say, in the fact that every time you go into Holly Manor, the Mount Holly Manor, I should say, every time you go in there, you do not know what the layout is going to be.
Right.
You do not know what rooms you are going to get put in front of you. It might be something completely new, and it might be very frustrating for you to not get the rooms you'd really prefer, or the layout that you'd prefer, as you have hallways that end up looping back in on themselves to dead ends, which is, a very frustrating thing, to say the least.
I think it's definitely a different kind of frustration, though.
Oh, very much so, because it's the frustration of, oh, if only I got a run where the game gave me these things, I would have been able, I would have been able to accomplish this thing. And I didn't. But the motivation for you is inevitably, I guess I have to try it one more time.
Right.
And see if I get the conditions that I need. Balatro is also like this, too.
Yeah. Both of those are roguelites, though.
They are roguelites.
Because as much as Blueprints is pure random generation, there is progression to it, because the progression comes in the knowledge of how things work.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And actually, even more explicit, I won't talk about it right now, but having played more of it, there are actually things that happen outside of the manor that end up with permanent benefits and advantages to you as well. Balatro also has this thing where you unlock new cards and such as the game goes on, which then become available to you in your runs. A lot of roguelites do this. There are games like a Hades or a Returnal where, you might not... You get some upgrades because they are roguelite in that way, but they also explain more about the story as you go along, and you get more knowledge about it. The thing that I think is really unique about Blueprints, though, to get back to that, is that you also start to realize over the course of time is that maybe stuff is not quite as random as you think, and there are some things that are, set in the world. There are some mechanics to it that are very real in a tangible way, which I think is very cool. But in terms of an actual rogue-like, go back to I guess the original Rogue or something like that. The frustration is that you have to continually get reset with no new information, and it's going to be completely random over and over and over again. But the reason why that ends up being really interesting is because, one, it's going to be a different game every time you play.
Right.
Which is something. But also because you have to figure out this Sisyphean task, really, of, seeing if I can roll that boulder up the hill one more time. And see if it works this time. And then if you accomplish it, you figured it out. Although I guess I could make the case, and you can disagree with me on this, that even a rogue-like does teach you things about its world every single time you go through it.
Depending what you consider teaching you, I guess most of them you can learn something from.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I mean, is that, if you go through a pure rogue-like, and you know that you're not going to keep anything that you learn, and you're not going to gain any experience or anything like that, but you go through that world, you are going to learn about how that world works immediately after dying. And the dying part is going to teach you things about how that world operates. So I think in that respect, it does have a teaching moment. The progress part is where the roguelikes really suffer. And it's the reason why a lot of times when people will do those randomized mechanics, they'll put stuff in there that is permanent expansions to your abilities, to the kinds of things that you can do, or literally just straight up character evolution.
Right.
Because that progresses you forward and makes you feel like you're actually accomplishing things long term. And personally, I think that that's really good. I mean, me personally, I just feel like that engages in a more meaningful way. But, you know, some other people might have a different opinion on that. I think that it's good to feel like there's at least some form of progress, but the risk-reward of it is still kind of important for the game to work. If you're not feeling like you're risking anything, the game doesn't feel as important. It doesn't have the weight to it.
Yeah.
This is kind of like, actually, kind of on a similar topic. You had discussed on another episode the idea of a problem with having no fail state in a game.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was Hogwarts Legacy
I
that it was
think
in
you are
relation
correct.
to. But the problem was that if there's no fail state in the game, there are no stakes to it.
Right.
And if there's like no stakes to the game, then it doesn't feel like it has weight to it. And I feel like that's one of those things. Rogues will do this where your fail state is literally go back to square one, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Your roguelike, or roguelite I should say, says, yeah, you're gonna fail, but good news, because of the stuff that you uncovered, here's some new stuff.
Right.
And this new stuff could be very beneficial to you, which does push you forward and does say, hey, I wonder what happens the next time. The problem that I always get into with the roguelites is that frustration always drives you to the, oh, gee, well, if this one thing happens next time, or gee, if I just get these cards that I thought I was going to get before, or if these conditions just get met, or I get this kind of stuff, boy, I bet that these things would work really well together, and I would finally know how to do this, and wouldn't that be terrific? What a happy day we would be having. And so then you're going, but I have to play again in order to make that happen. So I guess I'm going back in one more time. And then you learn stuff about the world again, and then you're going, okay, well, now I know this. So how am I going to use this in order to accomplish the next goal and the next thing after that? But the randomization in that, by the fact that it's randomization, is the reason why the game works. You wouldn't really be able to make it work otherwise. I surmise. I don't think that, like, the idea of the randomization of a roguelike is intrinsically bad. I think it is core to the gameplay and needs to be there in order for you to play it.
Right.
That would be my...
I would agree. I would definitely agree that the randomization needs to be there. Otherwise, you're just doing the same run over and over again.
Right. Which is also kind of like the huge difference between rogues and souls, I think, because the Souls games are always built in a very specific way, and rogues are always different. They kind of have to be, and it's the reason why I wanted to bring up these two specific genres in terms of how frustration works, because the frustration is built into the games in very different ways. The Souls games ask you to be frustrated by not understanding the game and learning about it so that you can overcome that frustration. The roguelikes say the game is very random, but if you're lucky, you might get the right conditions. Now you know the best conditions. Can you make those conditions happen? Will the game let you? And if you might succeed this time, why don't you give it one more run?
Right.
Both of these things, I think, can be incredibly fun and hit different, like, centers of your risk-reward centers, like your dopamine centers of your brain.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, the overcoming of either the randomness or the sheer difficulty of the world itself can be incredibly rewarding and makes you feel like you've really overcome something, either through luck or skill or knowledge that you didn't have before. And so I think what I take away from it, and this is, I guess, where I kind of conclude my thesis statement, is that it might behoove, if you were not thinking about this, developing a game or playing a game, how frustration actually plays a key role in the mechanics of the game. How the game wants you to be frustrated, and more importantly, is the game trying to frustrate you for the sake of frustrating you, or is it using frustration in a way to try and inform you about stuff about the game that you might not otherwise know or learn? And that can be a big difference between whether it works or not, I would suggest, because I've played my fair share of games where it feels like they just wanted to piss me off for the sake of pissing me off, and I did not want to play those anymore because I did not see like what I was actually supposed to accomplish. I think it would be very interesting for me to play a game like Getting Over It, because I feel like that's one of those games where it's just there to annoy me.
Yeah, that's a game that's
just there to piss me off.
Incredibly hard to be incredibly hard.
It's incredibly hard to be incredibly hard.
There's been, I don't know if you've seen it. I think Adam Millard maybe did a video about frustration games like White Knuckle, which came out recently.
Oh, I have not seen that.
That one's a climbing game.
Oh, great.
In a similar but very different vein than Getting Over It.
Oh, okay. Climbing games are something. I played one that I think is probably considered more casual, called Jusant.
Yep.
Once upon a time, the climbing games can be very interesting, but I don't know. Is White Knuckle like meant to be ridiculously hard?
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm just going to assume that it is. A lot of times they're just ridiculously hard for the sake of it. So.
I know Librarian played it because it's also kind of a horror game.
Oh, great.
So it's even better.
Nice. I always like it when they make frustrating horror games.
Yes.
I always love it. Make more of them, please. Yeah, I think there are ways that you can do frustration in gaming that just annoy me. Recently, when the young ones were here, one of them wanted me to try Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, I thought
it's like.
I feel like you've tried this before.
Not really. Maybe I have and I forgot about it because I didn't care. Five Nights at Freddy's is just like one of those games where you're kind of like going, yeah, I get it. I get it. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, well, you have to turn the power on. It's like, okay, so I just close the doors. I understand. I'm gonna run out of power before the night's over, inevitably. And now what am I gonna do? Well, the puppet's gonna come and eat me or whatever. And I guess moving on to the next thing. I don't know. It was one of those games where it's like, yeah, okay, can we move on to something more interesting? And then you know what I made the small one play after she wanted me to play that? I said, okay, now you have to play co-op.
Did you actually make them play co-op?
I did. I did. I made the small one play co-op.
And they loved it.
It was great. Yeah, she seemed to dig it eventually because again, it's one of those things where it's like, hold on, wait a second here. What are we doing? Can I do these things? I'm gonna make this work. But also because she's still very young, she wanted to move on to 16 other things real quickly. So, but for about 15 minutes or so, we made co-op work.
There you go.
So
there you go. Frustration as a game mechanic.
Yeah. Frustration. Who needs it? If anyone out there has some examples, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Please let me know, because it's just it's one of those things that we don't typically talk about when it comes to how a game is built. You know, usually people assume that frustration in a game is going to be inherently bad, which I totally understand, but also I think it can be very beneficial to making the player want to overcome a challenge and making them want to actually succeed in a way that a game that didn't have that mechanic wouldn't really allow for. So, yeah, go play co-op, I guess, is what we're saying. Is that the lesson that we're doing today? Is just go play co-op?
Might be a little bit weird of a
Perfect.
lesson, but okay.
Go play co-op. Bennett Foddy is a madman. I guess I do have to eventually play Getting Over It, don't I?
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to stream it though if we do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That'll be fun for everybody. Probably have to play Baby Steps at some point too. Those are games where the frustration is, how do I play the game? Like, that's the frustration of, I don't think the game wants me to play it. Now how do I play it? You know? But yeah, so for folks that are out there, you know, figure out if you like frustration in gaming, or if you deal with it, or maybe you didn't think about it before. One of those things. Alex, my question to you is, do you like to be frustrated?
In games, no. I play games to relax almost exclusively.
Yeah. Although, you know, you say that, but I did notice recently you just got to the center of the universe in No Man's Sky in permadeath.
That is true.
In survival.
I did. I will say it was not actually all that hard.
Okay. No Man's Sky isn't necessarily a difficult game, but in general. But
it's restrictive when you play it on permadeath, because it just limits a lot of things, like your inventory stack sizes are smaller.
Oh yeah.
But overall,
Yeah.
I don't think it was a lot harder.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. One day maybe I'll go back to No Man's Sky and check it out again. But,
When's the last time you played it?
oh, probably a year or two ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not that far.
Yeah. I know there's been they put a ton of new things in there, but all right. So, that being said, I think we frustrated ourselves enough. Those spiders frustrated me earlier, so that's
Sure
really
did.
good.
Also, I found a nice amethyst geode underground down here.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, by the way, that pit that you told me I wouldn't find anything in, I have 12 diamonds.
Fuck.
I got 12 diamonds down
I mean,
there,
I found
so
a
that was
frog
good.
village over that way.
Oh.
Yep, and treasures.
You mean there's a village just made of frogs?
Yeah, I mean, the village isn't made of frogs, but there are frogs inhabiting the village.
Oh, okay. It would have been more interesting if it was made of frogs.
Yeah, a little across the bay. There's a couple things.
Okay. Great. I'll have to check that out at some point. But in the meantime, Alex, if folks wanted to find out more information about Toad Purple Knockdown, is there a place they could go on the internet?
Yeah, you can go to wherever the fuck this is that Nathan made a redstone block hut.
Yeah, I made this marker out of just... I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with all my redstone dust. It's like, I'll make them into blocks and I'll put a thing there. I'm just going to start making a tower every time I get redstone.
Great. Anyways, if you
don't have anything to do,
if you'd like to see more of the things we do, tune in here on the YouTubes where we have all of our stuff, because that's what we do. But you can
that
also...
That is indeed what we do.
You can also go to our website over at toadpurplenokdown.com if you'd like.
Yeah, feel free to go over there for all of your pebbly needs. We do these sort of podcast episodes occasionally. We also do the Let's Plays where we are going through various games, mostly to see what they are about, helping getting through our game catalog, exploring some liminal space games, some other kind of like immersive games that are very interesting, or sometimes a little experimental, and it's kind of cool. So check us out over there. I think right now, when this comes out, you're probably going to see me playing Voices of the Void, which is very different. I'm still, like, even though I'm a few days in, I'm kind of like, I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around what I'm doing, so it's kind of fun to watch me struggle with that.
A little bit. Getting the ATV stuck in the water, it's all good.
Oh yeah, tune in for that montage. That's going to be great. But at any rate, folks, I want to thank you all for coming and listening to my TED Talk. And now that we're done with the TED Talk, you can go back to your regular lives. Thank you so much for listening to Total Purple Knockdown. I am Nathan, and that is Alex, and we will see you on the next one here in Podcast Valley. Is Podcast Valley a good name for this? I don't know.
That's not the name of the series, but it's the name of this world.
Okay. It's the name of the world. Okay. We'll go with it. It's fine. Alright. Cool.
Bye!
Bye! Bye!